guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and much appreciated you guys coming by the channel to spend some time with me and check out the commentary here. Because guys, today we're going to be talking about the absolutely disgusting display of, I don't even want to call it fishing, it's not fishing, of what's going down at the Bassmaster EQ event down at Lake Okeechobee this week. Going to get into that today's video. Got obviously some strong comments on this, and definitely want to get your guys' feedback and opinion on that as well in today's episode. Also, guys, real quick, we've been talking about reels here lately because holiday season's coming up and guys getting ready for fishing next year. If you guys are looking for a good spinning reel, guys, check out this Lews hypermag here. Guys, this thing is freaking awesome. Just smooth as butter, guys. Large 3000 series spool here. 10 ball bearings in it, 11 ball bearings in it, and just a super well-balanced reel at a really good price. I'll put the hypermag reel link in the description of this video if you guys would like to check it out. I'm really happy with it. Got this through Tackle Warehouse myself here. I think you guys would really be happy with it, so I'll link that in the description. And guys, also Tackle Warehouse has got a big Black Friday sale going on, so using that link of mine in the description, get you some good deals on tackle. I really appreciate that. Okay, if you haven't seen it, guys, some of the clips, I can't stand to watch any of it for over about 30 seconds, but I've been seeing a lot of clips of the absolutely disgusting display of spotlighting for bass at Lake Okeechobee. Now, here's the thing about it. You know, spotlighting for bass is bad enough, like on, open water, man-made impoundments, where you got these fish roaming out in open water and they're chasing shad. I mean, we've all seen how it's devastated the sport and it's degraded the sport and it's harmed the sport. It's caused chaos and division. It's destroying the fishing tackle industry. We could go down the list with everything, how bad live scope and forward facing sonar has been for the sport. But when you have an event on Lake Okeechobee, which is a traditional shallow water, South Florida fishery, where forward-facing sonar is freaking having a huge impact in the event of the tournament. It's sort of the same way as like spending $300 on a Wagyu steak and putting steak sauce or ketchup on top of it. That's what sort of it's like to me. And let me draw an analogy about this before I get into about the insanity of using this type of technology on a lake like Lake Okeechobee is. Okay, now I want to equate this to hunting a little bit. And you guys know that I always draw a lot of correlations like with the Native American Indians here, because I really respect the way that they lived on the North America before we got here, before the white men, committed acts of genocide on them. But anyway, let's talk about deer hunting. When the Native Americans were deer hunting. If you were a Native American Indian 1,000 or 2,000 years ago, number one, this is what you did. You went out and you had to find a sapling to build a bow. Found that sapling, you crafted the bow. You had to find cordage for that bow, for the bowstring, which is usually sinew or plant fiber, and you had to have the primitive technology skills to make that. Then you had to nap an arrowhead, you had to find the arrow, you had to get the feathers, you had to get the adhesive for the feathers. Just an art form just to create the bow. And then, since you had a low-tech bow, you had to get close to the quarry. And, so in order to get close to that deer, to where you could actually take that deer and kill it with your, handmade bow, you had to have an intimate knowledge of that deer, its habits, its routes, what it was doing. And the way that you did that was through observation and stalking. And you had to develop strong skills in stalking in order to find out the route the deer is going to be so you can set up close to it before you could actually make the kill. It was like a long process. It was a respectful process. It was honoring the animal. It required a tremendous amount of skills to do that. Okay, I equate that to like traditional fishing. And now what you have, fast forward to 2025, and now we have dudes that are still deer hunting, but they go out on their private game refuges or their private property. They put out trail cams to find the deer for them. They put food plots in there to draw the deer to them. They don't have any skills. They don't do any tracking or observation. All they do is look at their trail cams, put out their food plots, put out their little comfy deer stands, And then they've got some freaking high-tech bow that can shoot 100 yards away that doesn't even look like a bow. It looks like something out of the Terminator. And that is what bow hunting is in 2025. So equate that to Lake Okeechobee. Traditionally, Lake Okeechobee was the epicenter of shallow water power fishing. You had shallow vegetation, different type of emergent and submergent vegetation, and you had your basic power fishing techniques like punching, flipping and pitching. And I'm not saying there's not some guys doing that at this week at Okeechobee, but you had, the typical South Florida techniques that, won every single tournament. And with the advent of live scope and forward facing sonar, we have seen the South Florida fisheries morph into nothing but live scope events because they're tapping into populations of bass that live in those canals, sometimes live in open water, but more not, they live in those canals, target them with forward-facing sonar, and just to sit and watch those guys in Florida, glued to that stupid live scope screen, shaking their minnow, shaking whatever they're shaking on it, and setting the hook without even, being anywhere near a piece of vegetation, is just an insult to the fish. It's an insult to the sport. It's an insult to the fish. It's an insult to the anglers that have been using that technology. And while I say that, I want to reiterate, because there's a lot of guys that freaking jump on this for no reason at all. I'm not blaming, if you're one of those guys that are smoking down at Lake Okeechobee right now with your live scope, I'm not blaming you because you've been forced in that position. You have been lured in by the tournament organizations that have forced anglers to do that to compete. It all goes back to what I say over and over again. Bassmaster, MLF, anyone who allows forward-facing sonar, I don't care if it's for 3 hours a day or if it's this or that tournament, one tournament, not the other tournament, changes all the time, you can't keep up with it. As long as they continue to normalize this type of destructive technology, some anglers are going to be forced to do that because it is a shortcut to success. Now, I don't care when anyone says live scope and forward-facing sonar is not just another tool. That's like saying, a thermonuclear weapon is the same thing. It's the same type of a weapon as a freaking 9mm pistol. It's not even in the same universe. Forward-facing sonar is not another tool. It's the most destructive piece of technology that fishing has ever seen in its infancy. It's going to even get worse with advancements because we've seen it, and nobody has any confidence for the tournament organizations to have the balls to stand up to the electronic companies and say, we're not going to do this. We want your money, so what can we do? What terms can we come to satisfy the outrage of the fishing public and satisfy the outrage of the fishing industry that's suffering through, decreased sales because everybody's using nothing but forward-facing sonar minnows? What can we do to squash this outrage and still get the check from the electronic companies? So that's what you see people having they're forced to do that. My opinion, I'm speculating on my opinion, but it's pretty obvious to me what's going on there. But anyway, guys, it's bad enough when I see somebody like on a lake like, Bull Shoals Lake or Table Rock Lake here in Missouri, shaking that stupid, disgusting, worthless little forward-facing jighead minnow, staring down at the screen, fishing it out in the 80 foot of water over the top of timber tops for spotted bass. That's bad enough. I mean, that's disgusting and degrading to the fish enough. But when we see it on a lake like Lake Okeechobee, which is just the history and the tradition and just the uniqueness of South Florida fisheries, to see this type of technology that is intruding on that tradition of South Florida fishing, it just disgusts me. I don't want to watch it. Nobody does. I mean, if you look at the comment sections on those things, people are dogging it right and left. But like I said, I just wanted to give a big comment, guys. Let me know what you think about that. Do you like to see some guy shaking a forward-facing sonar minnow in Lake Okeechobee, or do you want to see Greg Hackney pitching a 1 ounce jig in a reed clump and pulling out an 8 pound? I think it's pretty obvious to most people what they'd rather see. So let me know what you guys think about it. We'll check later.